Hey guys, RC here, going over the 2022 hood electricals system, which have much longer brushes and aluminum shims to set the timing. This is also one of the reasons why we went to this system. Was this allows us to put a spacer on the front edge and give you a square in here. So this is just a T-Jet 5000 spacer. You do have to make sure it's right, as sometimes, like currently, the brush is just a hair tight. I was trying to rub sand them down. They slide through, but they're just a hair snug for my liking. So I'm just going to take a diamond file and just very lightly brush the side of it. Brushes are typically very soft, so it doesn't take much. You know, and then you just want to make sure the brush is going to slide in here. You know, make sure it slides. You don't want it to catch. You could have a slight little bit, a very minimal resistance. You don't want a lot of resistance. If you have too much resistance, you know, that can cause a jam. So that's what we're looking for. You just want to be able to push it very lightly and have it move. Okay, so these shims only go in one way because they have a little nub that stops them to make sure the spacer will never hit the comm. Okay, so what I suggest doing, it's taken me a while to get used to these even myself. What I would suggest doing, let's get the brush in there. You want to make sure these aren't tight as well. Pre-fit. I also tend to, these don't have a radius or a chamfer. So the side without the tit sticking out, I tend to round, because the inside of the hood, there's obviously a little bit of a round there. Now this could have some resistance if it's too tight top to bottom. It shouldn't have too much. All I did of this is I rounded the corner. The first batch of these was a little bit thicker. There's a little bit of grit in there, not too much, but just a little bit. And you know, the funny part is you can slide both parts individually, and you won't you won't feel it. So what I do is I make sure they're both. One thing I didn't do is make sure the brush was in correctly, which I believe it's in upside down. The brush does have a concaved end, so you always want the farthest point to be the leading point of your timing. On the passenger side, the brush goes up. Driver's side, the brush goes down. I also want to mention that you should make sure the hood does not have a burr where the brush will go up, especially on the passenger side, right here. And the reason why is because we had one person at least who broke a brush. Probably because there was a very sharp corner there and leaned on it, I would assume, in some way. Whether it was an accident, you know, doesn't really matter. But, you know, it was just something that happened. So once he removed the burr, we didn't have any more brush breakages. So I would suggest doing that. You know, I would just suggest deburring, just, you know, just in general. It just makes sense. Just a little bit of resistance there. And I do put a brush through these when I do them. But I've been putting an older brush through, and the newer brush is maybe a little wider by a thou. And maybe I might have to retool for that, which is, you know, everyone's favorite thing to do. You know, with Nationals coming, I wanted to get this out because I think this is going to be a really good system for everybody. Just trying to feel how much resistance is in there still. Just a little tiny bit. Yeah, you're more than welcome to sand. If it's too tight top to bottom, sand the aluminum piece. You can bend the aluminum piece to hold, you know, to kind of bend it back up if you sand it a little too much. You know, yeah, like the problem with any brush system is you want the brush system to be as snug as possible, but not bouncing around. But it can't jam. So, and that's the one advantage to an end bell system is the brush is, you know, already locked into the arm. The disadvantage to me to the end bell system, and I'm a brush guy, always have been. The disadvantage to the end bell system to me is if something goes wrong, you can't just look in there and see. You got to rip the whole car apart. There have been times at races where I've been able to go in, you know, and just figure out that something's jammed in my comm. And you may not win the race, but, you know, it may salvage second over fourth or sixth, you know. It also allows you just to clean your be able to clean your commutator. Case of excessive arcing, in case you just do something stupid like, you know, use comm drops inappropriately. I usually will tell you not to use comm drops unless you plan on cleaning your car. I can feel this is just a hair tight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to file the inside of this on my diamond file here. You could file a bottom, I don't know if it matters too much. The other thing I have noticed is every once in a while you will get it to catch there. And that's just copper flexing intolerances. Yeah, it's just a little tight. Still just a little tight. And the system actually allows us to understand the brushes a little bit better in the car, which hopefully I'll be able to do another video of how to understand which brush may be causing a problem, which means I have to figure out how to set one up incorrectly. Brush is just a little sticky, it feels like. Try to sand very gently so I don't take too much off the brush. The other thing I would suggest doing is once you get your aluminum pieces side to side, adjusted to where to where they fit good. I would keep them with that side. Mark one with, I don't know, maybe a black for the black magnet side or the white magnet side. That would be my thought there. Or some sort of color coding method that works for you. I would, it's just, there's no point in getting one to fit perfectly. The brushes are normally very close in spec, especially height and width. But every hood could, be slightly different based on, there's filler material in the chassis, and the filler material, if there's more of a concentrate, which, there shouldn't be, but, like anything, there always could be. Once I get the brush where I'm happy where it's floating, I use my tool like this just to make sure I'm not going to do what had happened there. Trying to keep my hands on the camera for you guys. So, now that we have both of those set, I'm going to pick up a spring. Now that with the brushes being longer, there's less spring adjustments that should have to happen here. The only thing that I really do is I come back to about here, and I give it about a 45 degree bend. Now what I've noticed with the new system so far is that this brush over here, the taller one, tends to not, oh, the good old joys of working on the brush system, tends to not need the cut down spring holder like most of us had been doing before. So I've just been using a tall uncut one. On that side. Spring, usually that's enough tension now with this new system, without any other tweaks. Before we kind of tweak the springs up a little bit. That's just the added distance of the spring length. And I still like the cut down one on this side. I think it's still, I don't think it hurts. Trying to do this on camera. I apparently have the most magnetic tweezers in the world here. I had a lot of people say they didn't think the springs would reach. The springs do reach. They are close, but they do reach. Now there's a slot in the aluminum for the spring to go in. Typically, newer motors have a 8 to 10 thou spacing in the front and a 5 in the back. It's the newer motors. The other thing that I would tell you to check is you want to wiggle. You want to wiggle and make sure that they wiggle with the motor. See, it looks like this one might be stuttering just a little bit. And that'll make sure that you have, your brushes should not be jammed up. Put your magnets in, and I'll be back with another video on how the car is, I'll put the shoes on it and make sure everything's all good, and then we'll go through how to test some possible points of problems with the brush system that I've encountered. The brushes come in silver and copper. A lot of people were asking for silver brushes. Silver has gone through the roof, but we did get them made. The advantage of the brush system so far, to be honest, the issues I've had are with the brushes jamming, kind of skew the results a little bit. But the peak performance cars are up about 100 points on the dyno, on my dyno. My dyno reads 1500 on hood cars. They're now reading 1600 on average. And yeah, so we're up 100 points of the good cars. It's still, I'm trying to still learn about consistency. It always takes time to get consistency in cars when you're building them. And so with limited time before Nationals, this is where I'm at. I mean, I'm a month behind on the video. So, please, if you have any questions, reach out to me, and I'll do that other video hopefully in a little bit.